In this video, we want to improve on the current weather method we created so that it's going to return an array that will contain the current weather information and the forecast weather information. In the previous video, we briefly talked about the ForkJoin operator. That is the operator we are going to use so that it's going to return a single array that will contain both data. Now, the first thing we need to do is let's visit Open Weather Map so that we can get the endpoint for the forecast weather. So openweathermap.org, then /API. Now, we have two different forecast data that can be returned. We have the 5-day, 3-hour forecast, the 16-day, then daily forecast. Now, I'm going to go with this 16-day daily forecast. So maybe if you specify the count, maybe for 5 days or for 7 days, it's going to return the data for each particular day. So if I click here for the 16-day daily forecast, I want to get the endpoints, and we are still going to use the coordinates right here, something like this. So api.openweathermap.org /data /2.5, then forecast daily, longitude, latitude, then count. We need to specify the count so that it's going to, we can return maybe 5 or 7, but a maximum of 16. So before I copy this out, let's go back to the current weather method. So right here, you can see we are just returning this, which is for the current weather. But what we want to do is we want to return for the current weather as well as the forecast weather. So right down here, I'll create two variables. The first one is going to be, I'll say maybe result1. You can give it just a variable name, and I'll set it equal to this.http then let me copy this get method. So I want to use this get method right here. So I'll cut that out. So this is for the current weather information. Let me take this one out. Then the next one is going to be, I'll say const, or I can just change the name. Let me change this to current info. Then I'll change it to forecast info. It's going to be this.http.get. Then now I need to get the URL. So I'll come right here, copy this. So you go to Open Weather Map. If you click on API, then 16-day daily forecast. Then you scroll down to where you have by geographic coordinates. So we want to use the geographic coordinates. So I'll copy this out here. Then inside the get method, I'll pass in http : /, then I'll pass in the endpoint. Now we need to just make some changes. At this point, I'll change this $, open brackets, close, then I'll pass lat, then I'll do the same for the longitude, and here it's going to be long. Now for the counts, you can specify what it takes a maximum of 16. For now, let me just specify, okay, let me leave it at 10. Then the next thing is to pass the app ID, and I'll set it equal to this.api key. So now we have the endpoints for both. So let me just collapse this. So we have both endpoints. So this is going to be for current weather info. This is going to be for forecast info. Then we used this.http.get, then this.http.get for the forecast info as well. Right here, we are getting this squiggly line because it requires a return value. Now what we need to do is we pass return, then observable dot ForkJoin. Now for us to use this operator, we need to import it. So let's go right here at the top. So I'll say import RxJS, then /add /observable, then /ForkJoin. Also, we need to import another operator, and I'll call that is going to be the map operator. So this is going to be map. So import RxJS /add /observable, then /map. So now we've imported the ForkJoin and the map. Now right here we are returning observable.ForkJoin. Then inside the method we are going to pass an array. The array will take the current info and the forecast info. So the ForkJoin method takes an array, and inside we pass the current info and also the forecast info. Then the next thing we need to do is we use the map method. Now because this is going to return an array, so I can say response or responses. Now this is going to return an array. Then also inside we need to use the concat method and also use the ES6 spread operator to take all of the values, then push them into an array. So that array is what is going to be returned. So here we are going to pass return, then array dot concat. Then inside we are going to use the spread operator with that is 3 dots. Then we pass responses. So whatever we have inside these responses, we are going to add them inside or into an array. That is why we are using this square brackets dot concat. Then inside the concat method, we use the spread operator and we pass in these responses. So here we are getting an error here that says property map does not exist on type observable object. Let's go to the import. Okay, right here this is supposed to be operator. So for map this is supposed to be operator, but for ForkJoin this we're getting from observable. So if I go back now, you can see we don't have the error anymore. So to use or get the current weather info and the forecast info, we are passing the endpoints using this.http.get, then for current weather info, and we are doing the same for forecast info. Then we are returning an observable. So we say return observable.ForkJoin, and this ForkJoin operator takes an array which contains the current weather info and the forecast info. Now, as long as both resolves without any errors, then the ForkJoin is going to return an array, a single array that will contain both values. Now, the advantage of using this is if we maybe decided to just use something like this, say return this dots, let me copy this out, maybe something like this dot http, then right here we are going to use subscribe, then inside we pass response, then we are going to pass in this one as well. Maybe we'll do something like this as well, but we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. We're already returning here the observable. We don't want to do this. That is why we are using the ForkJoin. Or we can just create separate methods. We create a method for this current info. Then we create a separate method as well for this forecast info. But instead of doing that, we are using this ForkJoin. It's going to return a single observable, which is going to contain information for the current weather info and the forecast weather info. So now that we have these methods, now let's go back into our app.component.ts. Inside the app.component.ts, we are still going to leave everything the way they are. So let's just run or go to the console and see the results. So right here in the console, you can see we have the array, we have the first object here, and we have for the current weather, and we also have for the forecast weather. You can see the results right here. So for the forecast weather, we have the lists, and we are returning 10 objects. So this is how we return the values using the ForkJoin. In the next video, we are going to start saving the data and using the Ionic storage plugin.